right, so yeah, first day I headed up early. I did a bunch of hiking over kind of in a different area, just kind of seeing if there was more bear sign than what we were seeing here, because one of the points of us kind of wanting to hunt here was the fact that we felt like it'd be really good elk and deer country. So we threw up a little bit of bait in the area, not like a big bait that we were gonna sit or anything, but just to kind of give us an indication if there were some bears in the area. We had a bunch of foxes, bunch of other game, but no bears. So our expectations for seeing bears, I guess, were not the highest going into this week. So I was like, you know, let's get into camp here, and let's have the discussion of what we want to do. We're gonna be like serious about trying to see some bears, like if we go to another area where we've killed bears before, or if we kind of stick to our plan originally, more relaxing trip, do some more fishing, do a bunch of hiking in the area, learn the area, kind of with the mindset of we're scouting it out for elk and deer. So that was kind of the first day, and then I picked you up later that day.
Yeah.
We did a little fishing on the way in.
Yeah, we came in, cooked some fish that night, made game plan for the next day. We kind of knew that there was no bears.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's the vibe, or the mindset we ended up taking was probably won't see bears, but that's fine.
Yeah, I mean, and we still gave it a good effort.
Oh man,
I mean,
we hiked, we moved, we covered a lot of area.
But we didn't jump ship.
No, yeah, we just
on this area.
We just knew that if we didn't see anything, that wasn't necessarily the point, and we were okay with it. There's tons of sign of all these other critters running around.
And we saw a ton of other critters running around.
Morning one of like actually sitting ridges and hunting, we saw what, 6 deer,
Yeah,
2 or 3 elk,
a couple elk,
3 or 4 coyotes.
Yeah, running around. We took a shot at one. But one of the highlights of my trip was that first sit in the morning. We had a freaking gobbler down in the canyon.
Yeah.
Starts freaking rattling off, and it's illegal to hunt this way, but just to call them in and just sightsee, we got some turkey hen chirping on the phone going for just a little bit, and we called that turkey in like on a string.
That was cool.
And yeah, it came like it was probably 30-35 yards. Kind of came in behind us, big old tom, beard hanging down. It was cool. That was probably one of the highlights of my trip. So that was that first morning.
After the morning, we went and did some exploring. We ended up hiking a total of like 10 plus miles that first day.
Yeah, some rugged terrain.
Yeah, but then we kind of came back to camp, gathered ourselves, rested a little bit, ate some food, did some fishing. And then once we decided to go back out, we went and sat a different ridge that night. And then, yeah, probably the highlight for me, but honestly, the whole trip has just been good as far as seeing things. But that night we saw a fox pop out, took a shot, missed the first shot, went above him, and then got kind of reset. And as it was moving through, second shot,
Piled
landed
him.
it. Yeah, so that was cool. And it ended up being a cool color phase.
Yeah.
Had some gray and black, gold kind of marbled through it. So that was really cool. That was my first fox. I mean, it was just exciting to put something on the ground and kind of flip the fire a little bit.
So yeah, the next day there was a lot of hiking. We hiked back up to some of the original ridges that we had sat. We saw a big old moose running around down one of the canyon edges. That was fun to watch. That was cool. It's just fun to see them in a habitat like that where all these animals, I mean, none of them had any clue that we were there, except for the last night, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, like that moose, this huge animal, and just how effortlessly he moved through that terrain. It's a humbling thing. We talk about it a lot.
Yeah.
About how humbling the outdoors can be and these animals that live in it.
Well, and he was on the same ridge that we had shot the fox the night before. And so we had gone up to where that fox was, and for us,
see the carcass.
You know, it was steep and ugly going up it, and then we're watching this moose, and it's like, okay, there's this 1,000-pound animal, and it's just
plus,
just you know, just going down and up and down, and it just looks like it's
just the morning commute. Yeah, so that was cool. Then we went to like one of the first ridges that we sat.
Kind of where our bait is.
Yeah, and we saw a cow elk, you know, and she was kind of checking the area out. That was fun to watch. And then she actually ended up bedding down right there. on the edge of that ridge there and inside of that canyon and bedded down, and we're like, yeah, let's just let her be. So it was getting later in the day. We headed back to camp. We took a nap.
Took a nap. That was awesome.
Took a nap. Something about taking naps in the middle of the day up in the mountains. I mean,
Well, and
it's natural.
Yeah, we were laughing about it. We were talking about how quickly you adjust to the animal schedule out here.
Yeah.
Where you wake up crazy early, so you can
Like naturally.
Yeah.
You just wake
just
up.
The sun coming up and everything. You just
Yeah.
wake up, and then by late to midday, it's
hot. You don't want to move.
you just want to come back and sleep, and that's what they do.
And then you can kind of feel that change in the air where it like starts to cool off, and you're like, yeah, let's start moving again.
Let's go back out there and look for them.
So that's what we kind of did. And then that afternoon, we went on a real long hike to a spot that we had set up a camera a while back just to check out the area. And it's steep and deep. There's some springs down in there. Just beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful country. Totally different terrain than what we had been hunting closer to camp. And honestly, probably more bear country.
Right.
Getting to more timber. But by the time we got over there, it was getting a little bit later, so we hung out down there for a while.
Moved the camera
to a little bit better location, and then...
Because at this point, we're kind of gearing up for elk season.
Yeah. That camera's going to sit here till fall.
Yep.
Like, we're not going to touch it, and so we kind of made a big, long loop just into some different terrain on our way back. I like hiking in different places. You're going to see different things. If you hike the same trail every time, you kind of know what to expect. So we kind of made a long loop back.
I mean, at one point, I was like, okay, I'm sweating. I need to take my pack off, take a break. We kind of found this little rock pile, took a break, and not 2 minutes after I set my pack down, I'm like, oh, there's an elk.
See some ears sticking out.
Looking right at me. And so we kind of sat there and watched out for a little bit. Got back on the move to try to get a good look at them, and there ended up being like, 7, 8 of them?
Yeah, something like that.
Just a little group. Which is
herd.
pretty cool. It was cool to see them.
Yeah, then we came back and fished, and it was just it was a different trip. We took more time off.
Yeah.
We were just committed to being up here, which is hard to do. And in the past, it's been more like a weekend, maybe an overnight. And it just feels like there's a lot more pressure.
And it's very rushed.
It's like we have to be at this ridge by this time. We have to do this, and this.
And then there's that feeling of like, I can't go back to camp. Can't take a break.
Can't take a nap, can't fish. But this trip was different, and I think early on we just kind of established it wasn't really a bear hunt. Yes, we were still looking for bears, but it was just more of a being up here in this area. Let's hike, let's look for animals, see some other predators, let's take some shots at them, shoot a fox, or let's catch some fish, let's kind of scout it out for elk season. And that to me really made the trip.
Yep.
That it was just completely no pressure. Let's just have a good time up here. And yeah.
And we just saw some cool animals. I mean, we had an otter hanging out right here at camp.
A beaver.
Oh, beaver, that's what I meant.
Yeah.
I had a beaver hanging out here at camp, and then we had a cinnamon teal duck, which I'd never seen.
Yeah, unique bird. Beautiful bird.
And we just had, we had just stuff. Like, there were just animals everywhere. So end of the trip, we just saw everything. I mean, we saw everything we wanted to see.
Yeah,
Took
except
shots
for a bear.
at a couple things. Yeah, I guess that's true. Saw everything but a bear.
Yeah.
But really, I mean, deer, elk, moose, coyotes, foxes.
Yeah, turkeys.
It was crazy.
Ton of birds, eagles, and yeah, it's just there's a ton of game in this area. Every time we went out, we saw game.
We never had a boring day.
No.
We always saw something.
No, and we caught a ton of fish too.
So we'll be back.
The fishing was really good. Yeah, it was great. I'm sure that we're going to be back in here during elk season, but all in all, it was an awesome trip. We still put something on the ground. You plugged that fox, made an awesome running shot on that. And yeah, just overall a great trip.
Yeah, I think that sums it up.